I'm John Kennedy, CEO of NJMEP, and welcome to our 6th annual National Manufacturing Day. It's grown. Before we get started, I'd like to ask everybody to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always love when they say they have housekeeping to do, but I don't really have housekeeping so much as I need to cite some people that have helped pull this all together. First of all, those of you that have dealt with our CFO, and I won't point her out because she hides on me, Lenore DeSantis really puts this entire thing together right down to the, what you see on your table. So Lenore, thank you for your Then as an old Boy Scout, we do Boy Scout aerobics to start every meeting. I'd love to have my team members from NJMEP. These are the guys that are out in the street and riding around town and talking to the manufacturers. Would you, my team, please stand up? See, Neil, we've trained you well. Even our intern from NJIT stood up. Yes. Also, I'd like to have our board members stand, because these are the people that really volunteer their time and do a lot of work to help us help the manufacturing sector. It's been a very interesting year for manufacturing in the country and manufacturing in New Jersey. But especially in New Jersey. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, either working for companies like Sandvik or owning my own companies, and I've never seen a year quite like this, where the conversation around manufacturing is actually happening, and we're talking about it in a positive way. Last year I asked manufacturers that were in attendance to help us support our request with the New Jersey government to create something a little bit different, and we had what was known as the Operation Outreach Petition. Our board helped us, our advisory board, all manufacturers helped create a letter asking the legislators to begin a conversation about the industry. We wound up with well over 500 companies signed into that letter. And it was passed on in March at our State of the State of New Jersey manufacturing event. We had, at that event, we had 2 events. We had 2 places, over 300 manufacturers and 65 legislators. And from that, we have started a conversation, and you'll get more of that today, with tremendous help from our teammates like Frank Robinson at NJBIA. We were able to work with the government to create a legislative caucus for manufacturing. It's the first one I remember. Frank tells me there was one before, and I'll believe him, but he was only a Life Scout. So, us Eagles don't necessarily take that. But we're excited. Senator Bob Gordon's leading it. It's a manufacturer in his background, and that's awesome to have this stuff. We have a conversation. The reality is, if it's only a one-way conversation, it's not good. So we need to continue to step up and talk, NJMEP, we do a lot of great stuff, I believe, in training, in consulting, and all sorts of other things. We do a little advocacy, but most of us are technically oriented. Teammates like BIA is what helps us take the other steps. But we all know that the industry has to speak. If the industry doesn't speak, then your voice will not be heard, and that's just reality. I was wondering the other day, I wanted a couple minutes to say some things, and I didn't know what to start this event with, and I was playing on my desk. Some of you have seen this before. It's a little poppet valve, and I'm not sure, you know, what company we're making it for, but it's something that sat on my desk for over 25 years. It's something I'm very proud of, but it's also something that humbles me. The reason being is that when I owned a manufacturing company in Irvington, Barnett Industries, which is now Barnett Machine Tool, moving and thriving in Harrison now, we bought a CNC machine, and we had to make thousands of these. So, being an engineer, I had to play and do the design and make it happen. So this is the test one. Now, we've got boxes of stuff we gotta fill. And I created the CAD/CAM design and put this in. And it came out and there's 2 errors on it. And I went over to one of my senior machinists, Jose Ferrara, and I said, Joe, what the hell, what did I do wrong? Immediately, he looks at it and he says, speeds and feeds. Anybody that's worked with a machine tool knows what speeds and feeds are. And he says, look, you know, it was too fast here and it slipped on this, and over here there's a nick. And from that, this gentleman, who was a tremendous machinist, and I'm working on my PhD in engineering, in 10 seconds, he politely told me how to fix my errors. And that's a lesson that I think we need to understand in New Jersey and in the country. That a piece of paper that says that you graduated from college is not a career pathway. It's a very wonderful accomplishment, but it's not a career pathway. With 4 college degrees, I certainly believe in college. But I'm also very proud that I can run a machine tool and that I can weld and that I can go to work and earn a living. And believe me, it helped buy me my first house and a lot of other things. It's very important that we stop and change our attitude. Because we're looking at people that are quite accomplished and quite capable, and we're looking at them almost as second-class citizens because they didn't go to college. 60% of us don't graduate from college. At age 18, at age 22, we're expecting kids to change their entire lives, and that's their career path. How many of you doing exactly what you wanted to do at age 22? I'm not. You know, at age 12, I was playing for the Yankees. That didn't work either. I did get drafted by Detroit. That didn't work either. But the reality is that we evolve into our careers and we change and we go for additional trainings and educations and so on, and that's very important. But we have to look at people for what their value is. I was speaking to a pollster around the time of the election, and he had a big list of things, and he had spoken before me at an event, and he made a comment about, oh well, you know, these are the uneducated voters. I said, what do you mean by uneducated voters? They didn't graduate from college. Holy crap. That's interesting that uneducated means you didn't graduate from college. So 2 of the smartest people I ever knew, my mom and dad, are uneducated. Is that how we look at people? Is that how we choose our career path? That's what we need to do. We need to look at career paths. And these are the things that we have to move in a direction. You know, to close out, you know, because I don't want to speak too long, but I'm hopeful that working with the caucus, working with BIA and CIANJ and other groups and the County College Consortium and NJIT, who's been our partner since day one, that we can help change this paradigm. And it's going to take a lot to change it. Because I know that everybody out there is thinking that it's wonderful if somebody wants to be a CNC machinist and programmer, just as long as it's not my kid. Because my kid's going to college. We got to change that mindset. College isn't for everybody, but it's for a lot of us. So let's take and embrace that. I was speaking to one of our top people, Stacy Cook, and I told her I would quote her, and she's mad at me. But we were actually talking about an advertisement, and you may have seen it. It's mom standing next to her strapping 6-foot-tall son, and she's praising the insurance company because that insurance company saved her son because it came out and changed his tire in the middle of the night. I look at it and say, what a crappy parent. You didn't teach your kid how to change a tire. But then I'm just a dumb anal engineer, so you can take that for what it's worth. The last thing, and I told Rob Stramara I'd do this, is that, you know, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and how things move forward and quickly and so on. And that's true. But I think that we always need to know that if you're going to be good at some of these things, you have to understand the whole process, not just the end game, which is the computerized stuff. You have to understand speeds and feeds. Computer program was fine. I screwed up on the speeds and feeds. So tonight, when you're bored because the game starts too late, pull out your cell phone and go on it and look up a band called Zager and Evans, one-hit wonder, and listen to the song. And think if we're not on that pathway, and that maybe it's time to embrace skilled people again and embrace our future. Thank you. I'm going to introduce my partner in crime, Frank Robinson. Frank and I go back quite a ways, and NJBIA, I've been a member when I owned my companies for ages. Lenore got Frank to come back and MC this year. Tell him he was either going to have Billy Crystal or Jimmy Kimmel up here. So Frank got juiced, but you know, it's just the way it works, Frankie.
Good morning, everyone. John mentioned earlier about this year having the state of manufacturing events here in New Jersey. Well, this is, right here we're witnessing that the state of manufacturing in New Jersey is pretty damn good. Thank you all for being here today. And on behalf of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, I just want to say that we're very, very proud to partner with NJMEP again this year in hosting this event. As most of you may know, this is not only National Manufacturing Day, but National Manufacturing Week all throughout the country. And there are hundreds and hundreds of events going like this all across the country to let everybody know that manufacturing is alive and kicking in New Jersey and in the United States. And some of you may know, the Business and Industry Association was founded well over 100 years ago as the New Jersey Manufacturing Association, put together by 12 companies back in 1910 to have a voice in all the new laws that were starting to take place, not only in New Jersey but around the country regarding workers' comp and child labor laws. And for well over 100 years, the association has represented not only manufacturers, but also every kind of business. Our 12,000 members are involved in every kind of industry here in the state of New Jersey, but we still have manufacturing close to our hearts because that was our roots. And besides NJBIA, I also want to recognize New Jersey Business Magazine, which is our affiliate, which I'm sure all of you read every month, is also an event partner. And I also want to recognize, where's Cliff Lindholm? Where's
back here, Frank?
Cliff Lindholm, please stand. Cliff Lindholm, everybody, President of Clarkson Company, is also on the board of New Jersey Business and Industry Association and the New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance. And he has been for many, many years a leader in the work that we're trying to do in terms of having a rebirth for manufacturing and a growth, along with our partners in the education community, with MEP, with the Commerce and Industry Association, the Chambers of Commerce. And I just want to say to everyone that we are with you. We are very, very supportive of everything that John and his association does, and we're just very, very proud to be here today. Thank you.
Cliff's also a fellow Eagle Scout. Sorry, Cliff, I had to get it out.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, we can't run this event without sponsors. We try to keep the price as low as we can, but we have to pay for everything. Our goal is to break even, and we can't do that without the sponsors, and we've had some tremendous ones. Crow Harworth is one of them, and they gave me a statement to read, and one of these days it'll be large enough for me to read it. But, Crow Harworth is a proud centerpiece sponsor of NJMEP's annual Made in New Jersey event. Crow Harworth is one of the largest U.S. public accounting, consulting, and technology firms in the world, with over 75 years' experience servicing the manufacturing and distribution industries. Crow has 1,600 active manufacturing clients across the country, ranging from family-owned, Fortune 500. Over 1,000 consultants work in the manufacturing space, including leaders here in New Jersey. They deliver nearly 100 specialized accounting, tax, risk, operations, and IT solutions for manufacturing clients. If you haven't met them, please stop by the table outside. So we really appreciate them being involved. Frank, you want to introduce Jim?
Thank you, John. Now I want to bring up Jim Hannon. Jim, as you all probably know, is the practice leader of Witham's Manufacturing, Distribution, and Logistics Services Group, and Witham is our Platinum registration sponsor. Jim and Witham have been great supporters of everything that NJMEP does, and also been a great supporter and sponsor of events and programs by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Jim?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Frank. On behalf of my colleagues at Witham Smith & Brown, we are proud to serve as a sponsor with so many other quality companies and organizations for this celebration of the manufacturing community. I'd like to thank John and his team at MEP, and just as an aside, and this is going to chew into my 2-minute allotment, I called Lenore to go over a couple details. And I said, and if I could have my steak at lunch medium rare, that would be appreciated. I then had my ass handed to me by Lenore. But all in all, the devil is in the detail here, and certainly everything is appreciated for your team and your staff, and Frank, your team as well. So we're here to celebrate the manufacturing group within this state, and congratulations to all of you for creating a buzz that really is fueling this sector's growth and developing a lot of innovation, a lot of automation, a lot of technology, and getting you to your next levels. Congratulations to all the award nominees, which we'll cover later in today's program. And just some thoughts, and John and Frank and their organization certainly serve as a mouthpiece to advance our agenda to both Trenton and Washington. And we all have some ideas and thoughts to foster growth. Some of them are perceived to be axes to grind, whether it's talent, taxes, fees, laws, infrastructure, rules. Please, please, please make yourself known, get your voices out there to the people that can convey the messages to the decision makers at various state houses and certainly down in DC. At Witham, our two biggest assets are off balance sheet. First is the relationship that we've established with our clients. The second are the camaraderie that we share with our employees who service those clients. And we're proud of our commitment to the industry within the state and the nation. And I'm proud to say that our manufacturing group is the #1 sector within our firm. And whether or not you are on the plant floor, the assembly line, the R&D crew, or your supply chain, certainly congratulations for all you do to move it forward. Whether that supply chain is global, national, statewide, or up and down the turnpike when traffic is amenable to that, certainly keep it going. We applaud all your efforts. We're supportive of the industry. We have some great ideas and thoughts to develop innovation from a tax perspective. We'll cover taxes later on. It's a very small, brief course because there's not much substance to it, but we'll do our best. So thank you all for attending and supporting John and his folks at MEP. Thank you.
I'd like to call up John Bergoglio. I always mess that up, even though I grew up in an Italian town. It's close. I'm a Scottish Polak, but my mom was adopted by an Italian family, Luciano, so I got a lot of different things. I did want to say a little bit about Cohn-Resnick, because if you know about the team that we have at NJMEP, we have about 25 full-time staff. A lot of them are experts in various fields of technical or business management or something. But what really makes it work is that we also have over 70 New Jersey-based experts that come and provide these types of training services, etc. And they work very closely with us. And then we also have affiliate members. And Cohn-Resnick is one, and there's so many of the others that are out and about. And they're the ones that provide services that we don't, but we're able to tie in companies that are in need. And Cohn has been that type of partner. You know, they really engage and they help. Even when it's not going to mean additional business for them, they'll step up and answer manufacturers' questions. I think that's impressive. John?
Last year, I know they had something running.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Into the future with open eyes. The world belongs to the quick and the wise. Are you ready?
Business ready to break through. Cohn-Resnick, Accounting, Tax, Advisory.
Thank you. So last year I actually started speaking during that, and when we were planning for it this year, I had in big letters to wait till after that is over, so I'll make sure I do that. Good morning, everyone. Great to see so many here today to support the manufacturing industry. I'm John Bergoglio, a partner at Cohn-Resnick, and the New York, New Jersey regional leader of our manufacturing and distribution industry practice. We would like to thank the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program for giving us the opportunity to be in front of you today, and we're looking forward to another great program. We have aligned ourselves with like-minded organizations that are committed to the growth and sustainability of the manufacturing industry in New Jersey. And we are an available resource to any of you who require tax, accounting, or advisory services. Your vision of success as a manufacturer or distributor assumes your company is structured to adapt and grow in a high-pressure trade environment. The speed at which economic and regulatory change can impact your supply chain, productivity, capital resources, tax liabilities, requires that you remain vigilant and proactive. Cohn-Resnick focuses forward, finding ways to build resilience into your operations and enhance your competitive position. Cohn-Resnick has dozens of audit, tax, and consulting professionals with deep industry expertise, as well as the resources and experience to provide outstanding client service. We service hundreds of manufacturers and distributors comprising the full life cycle of business experience, from mid-size to Fortune 500 public and private companies. Cohn-Resnick is recognized for promoting stringent adherence to operational and regulatory standards. We continuously foster working relationships with the banking and legal communities in order to advocate for the industry. We are continually looking for ways to get leaders and influencers in the industry together to work through business challenges and discuss hot topics. We host a manufacturing roundtable series for owners and leaders who come together to discuss topics such as private equity interest in manufacturing, cybersecurity, the Affordable Care Act, revenue recognition, research and development credits, tax reform, preparing for liquidity events, and how to use innovation in your business plan. If you would like to join this exclusive group of leaders, please stop by our booth to learn more at some point today. Lastly, all of the finalists for today's awards are truly inspiring, accomplished people and companies. We took the opportunity to meet some of our finalists prior to today's main event. They were gracious and hospitable, allowed us to tour their facilities and meet with their leaders and team members. Through this process, we truly gained a handle on the amazing diversity there is amongst the manufacturing industry in the great state of New Jersey. While the business and products created all are very different, the leadership of these great companies unanimously agreed that they continue to do business in New Jersey because of the high quality of the workforce, they love manufacturing because they get to follow an idea to a tangible product. And finally, manufacturing is not stagnant, it's alive and well. I look forward to meeting many of you today. Have a great manufacturing day.
I'm waiting for my phone to ring. My tea time's a little bit late, so. We always like to try to give, at this event, we try to give both the federal and the state view on things because they are so connected. In March, we head down as part of the MEP system, as part of the national system, to DC for the Hill Days, and we spend 3 or 4 days wandering around and meeting with our congressional delegation, and it's been a very interesting learning curve for me. So I'm a business owner, an engineer, and to learn that portion of the job is not innate to me. And we have great support, and I'm not saying that, but literally we have 100% support these past 2 years out of our congressional delegation for the manufacturing industry and for how it exists in New Jersey. And that's greatly appreciated. And today we have a congressman from the southern sector of the state who has been very gracious in the way he has treated myself and my staff when we have come down. And I'd love for him to come on up and give a few comments about the federal side of manufacturing. Senator Norcross.
Thank you for that little raise there. Good morning. How are we doing? Interesting day. I'm just sitting over there saying, I am just so pleased to hear the comments that have come out already. Change, adapting, diversity. I live down in southern part of New Jersey, as we've been Camden City, the Eagles territory. We're not bringing the Eagles and Giants into it, even though you'll only have to watch the last minute of the game to find out what happens. Bob Gordon loves that story. I live in the Victor building. For those of you who are old enough to remember, the Victrola, it's where recorded sound began. The fact that I live in the building tells you what happens. We're always changing, we're adapting. It's actually where my father's first job was. So here we are today, and we have the diversity of groups, Matco, who used to bring in licorice root malt by sale. They've been there over 100 years. And now we just opened up Holtec, who's going to make the next generation of small modular reactors. And that's just one story from one small community. of how diverse we are in the state. When I was first sworn in to the 114th Congress, they got the entire freshman class and would do interviews with them, where the background, where they came from, and then they threw a zinger at you in the end. Do you watch House of Cards or West Wings? I said, how it's made. What? I said, that's the show that I like. I love to watch the manufacturing shows, the innovation, what we do best. How the hell do you make pantyhose? Well, we do. What machine, and who built the machine? It is something that you hear a lot about, but I live it each and every day. When we talk about background, I like to say I grew up in southern part of New Jersey, did a little bit of college, and then I went to the other four-year school. I'm an electrician by trade. I did an apprenticeship program. There are 211 attorneys in Congress, but there's only one electrician. So why do I talk about that? I'm very proud of my background. It's not the normal way to get to Congress from the construction site to the House. But it's about diversity of experiences. We don't want all doctors. We don't want all lawyers. Could you imagine nothing but engineers in our country? It is important to bring that background, that I understand how important the job is. That if you don't have the dignity of taking home a paycheck and providing for your family, the world starts to crumble. That's important. The three priorities I've had since being in elected office is about jobs. The educational experience, whether it's an apprenticeship program or whether it's the traditional four-year degree, and security. You know, when we look at New Jersey, we have a remarkable story to tell. And boy, do we hear it, because I get the opportunity to travel not only around the world, but around our country to see how things are made. And I love going to the different factories to see how we do what we do. Yes, you provide a product at the end of the day, but how did it get there? What was the energy? What was the motivation to put that together? And in New Jersey, 9 out of the 10 upcoming jobs do not provide the need for a four-year degree. And I couldn't agree more than John said earlier. When I grew up, every guidance counselor says, kid, you go to college, that's the only way to make it. That means nobody serves in the military. And if you do get a trade school, hey, those are the dumb kids. I'm leaving next week to go to Switzerland for our education committee to look at the European model. And quite frankly, whether you're a PhD or a guy that builds the college that they go to, I'm proud of what they do. I couldn't agree more. Because going to school for the reason of going to school is great. But it's about the career, it's about the job at the end of that. And to be focused on that is something we want to do. So much so that, you know, the laws, many of which we put together, were built on the old model. 529 plans. Anybody hear those? Saving for your kid to go to college. Well, if you're like my family, there were 4 boys. 3 of them went to college, but I was a kid that my mom gave us a bicycle and tearing it apart 20 minutes later because I wanted to see how it worked. College wasn't in my game plan. But in the 529s, unless you go to college, you're not using it. We want to open it up so you can use it when your children want to be an apprentice. That's the way to go. It's those surrounding issues that go with that. So it's just opening that old thinking up to a new way of what we do. 21st century, it's called the 529 options class, and if you're going down to DC, it's got bipartisan support. I do it with Pat Meehan out of Philadelphia. Another one is 21st Century Energy Workforce Act. If you live in Texas or if you live in Florida right now, you have some real issues when it comes to the power. There's something called storm break. All the utilities in the country come together to help put you back online. We know about that because we had Sandy. Because of those two storms hitting where they are, and certainly the third one in Puerto Rico, they assembled the largest group of restoration workers ever in the history of our country. 60,000 people came together. Because in manufacturing, you turn the lights off, everything comes to a halt. That's something that's incredibly important, but they're going to lose half their workforce in the next 10 years. And the problem is, not everybody wants to go out and be a lineman because they're not being educated. These great, sustaining jobs that provide for a living for you and your family. Some of the best jobs in the world. Camden City, the town I call home. In the third quarter of last year, #1 in job growth in the country. #1 in job growth in the country. You didn't think you'd hear that, did you, Senator? Things can be done differently. There's about $2 billion worth of private investment going on in our great town. Holtec, who I mentioned earlier, built a $250 million facility right down the waterfront in our old shipbuilding plant where the first nuclear power freighter was built. Now he's making that next generation. The equipment you talk about, massive, coming together. But he's done something that I think many of the people in this room do, and it's so important. He recruits from the community. If you want to become a welder, it's not just a welder, it's a nuclear certified welder who will make very good money, and he's teaching them from the very beginning, starting that apprenticeship in welding. That's about working together, using some incentives we did both on the state and federal level, and parlaying that into a product that he has that he's going to sell around the world. Because Dr. Singh, who owns Holtec, could have gone anywhere in the world. He was recruited literally around the world. And the very shores of our own Delaware River is where he ends up. Because that's where we're working together. You know, how many people remember the odd-even days of gasoline back in the 70s? Remember that? Where you had 2 sets of plates, Mr. Gordon? We were watching you. No, I never did it. But that's how that energy independence had us strangled. And you were worried about the next gallon of gas. Now look where we are today, energy independent. And as I like to suggest, we have Saudi Arabia next door. We have a supply of gas. And we have some challenges, bringing together those who are looking at an environment that's changing and being challenging, and looking at a cheap resource of fuel. And that's that balance that we hear about each and every day when you come to visit us. You know, how do you balance that? So we brought the blue-green alliance together. Because the big talk is the nuclear plant shut down. 45% of New Jersey's energy needs comes from that plant. That's a real challenge for us. Well, what's the bigger challenge for you is make sure you have electricity that's reliable and affordable. So I'm going to leave that part to Bob Gordon and Senator Orho to see how they do that. We want to make sure that when we're addressing so many of the issues each and every day, and the list just is remarkably long. Let me just leave you with this one list of things, and I'm sure you have a list each and every day for what you do, what they want us to do for the end of the year. Health care, the Affordable Care Act. The debt limit, to make sure we can keep working. Throw a little tax reform. The budget, sequestration, DACA, immigration, storm relief for Harvey, Irma, and Maria. National security, throw a little bit of North Korea there and some nukes. Iran, Russia, China. Addiction. And something that we can't take away from any of us that is impacting our nation is the addiction. You know, 75,000 young men and women are going to die this year because of that. We know that we have to test 5 applicants to give 1 to pass the test before they even get trained. So adapting, changing for the diversity that goes on each and every day is what I hear when you come and speak to us. But it's also those who will make our laws and make manufacturing, the business climate workable. I am so proud of what New Jersey is able to do. We tout it every time I go away. But it's about working together. That's what I want to leave you with. We need to work together as a nation, whether it's on national security, but today it's about jobs and manufacturing. And I thank you for what you do.
Okay, we're making some moves around with the schedule just a little bit. Want to talk to you. I did want to bring a couple things to people's attention. You know, you talk about young people. Every year our board sponsors student ambassadors to come to the event. And every year we get NJIT students. You can see them in the red. They're always coming out to visit with us. Rutgers people come on out. Some of the community colleges, Raritan Valley, you know, support with. CCM was going to be here in my home county, but they have a tremendous event going on today too. And also Middlesex Bow Tech. These are the people that are coming, you know, and need to be exposed to things. So it's very important. Also, I want to bring attention. There's a little business card on your day. It's, you know, the congressman brought up the recent storms. Well, since Sandy, NJMAP and the manufacturing industry has sponsored a food drive. We've come close to topping 100,000 meals so far in our donation. That card will bring you to, you know, the website. We work with the Community Food Bank in New Jersey. $5, $10, it goes a long way. It is important. I know everybody's drained by it. But I used to donate my time and work with disaster relief with the Red Cross. And unless you've been standing somewhere and you haven't eaten for 3 days, or you haven't had clean water, you can't understand what it's like. And we know what it's like in New Jersey. So please bring that. The last thing before we go into the Made in New Jersey Awards is every MEP gets, every client we work with gets surveyed by a third party from the federal government. A lot of you guys that are here have gone through those surveys over the time, and they create a metrics and a scorecard for us. One thing I wanted to say is, over the last year and a half, our metrics have us at the top of the ranking in the nation, NJMEP, and that's the guys that were standing up before. I'd like to congratulate the team at NJMEP for being up there. Number one. I was going to ask the congressman to show me the pictures of the Super Bowl trophies from the Eagles, but he left it. I know we're 0-4, but I'm still a Giants fan. Made in New Jersey honor roll. Frank and I started talking about this 3 years ago, and it came to be last year. And what it is that we felt we didn't recognize the people in government, the people elected, and the people that work at our fine schools. And so what we do is we throw it out to the entire manufacturing industry, and a lot of you guys basically vote. You nominate people, and they come to me, and I collect the votes, and then Frank and I sit down and we say, where's the cutoff? And it's amazing the amount of votes we get for a variety of people, and it's a diversity of group and why it comes to be. One of last year's honorees was our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Gudano, who just wandered in, and I'm sure she isn't busy lately. But I asked her if she would come today and say a couple words, but more importantly, two of New Jersey's government groups are being recognized this year for their contributions to our industry. So, Lieutenant Governor.
And my senators, and good luck in the election, and that is about all we're going to say about the election, because I am not here to talk about what happens next. I'm here to talk about a group of men and women who are absolutely my favorite people in the world. And you know I'm about to say NJMEP. What you do every day, I know, Frank, you help a little bit, but not enough. You know, when you can tell stories like this, you know somebody really too well. So, Frank, it's good to see you again. Everybody go to Robinson's Ale House, either in Red Bank or in Asbury Park. Is that a good commercial for you? Okay. All right. But really we're here because of all of the work that John Kennedy and his team does here. Lenore DeSantis, are you in the room somewhere? Lenore, oh, way over here hiding, typical female, hiding in the corner, making sure things get done. This is a fabulous organization, and they truly have fought the good fight over the last decade. Notice I say decade, so we're not blaming any particular party. And it's a fight that we have to win. Grow New Jersey helps a lot. Grow New Jersey has done a lot in terms of making sure that businesses stay here and grow here, but without the help of an independent private group like NJMEP to literally do the follow-up, we wouldn't be at about the national average in terms of unemployment. We wouldn't have more people working here today in this state than ever before in the history of the state of New Jersey. So everyone deserves, or should, give a round of applause to NJMEP for all of the work they've done. The facts, and I didn't hear the congressman, so if I repeat these, I apologize. There are 10,000 manufacturing companies in New Jersey, more than 250,000 jobs represented by that. 41.6 of our GDP is represented by the people in this room right now. That represents 90% of our exports, and without manufacturing in New Jersey, we would be lost, quite frankly. So we need to encourage NJMEP to keep working harder and longer and continuing to be a vocal advocate for all that is good about New Jersey, and I thank you for doing that. And all of the sponsors also, really what they do, and I've seen it from the ground up, whether it's just going into a business and showing them how to do things smarter and better and therefore cheaper, or attracting a business or convincing a business to stay. They are fabulous advocates for the people of the state of New Jersey. I'm also here because my favorite people are getting honored. So the Business Action Center, I know Jerry Scharfenberger is here. Where are you, Jerry? Jerry, right here. And I know Noel McGuire is here somewhere. Noel? Come on, Noel, stand up. You know, he never ever likes it when you call him out in the room, which is why you love to call him out. For those of you that don't know what the Business Action Center is, it's something that we created 8 years ago now. And it's literally a one-stop shop for business in New Jersey. They are the person that goes to the Economic Development Authority and fights for you so that you don't have to, because sometimes you think it might not turn out too well. So Jerry Scharfenberger is the executive director of that. He took Lauren Moore's place, for anybody that knows who Lauren Moore is. And they literally are a startup organization. They started up about 7 years ago, molded themselves into be a one-stop shop and a business advocate for all of us across New Jersey. And I'm completely honored that they are being honored today, as well as the Department of Labor. I was told Greg Townsend was Greg is in the room, a former member of the governor's office, and now smartly over the Department of Labor, where he can actually help people every day cut through some of the red tape that they might run into and give them some idea of the resources that are available to them, and between the two of them make sure nobody leaves any money on the table when it comes to grants and training dollars. So I want to thank the members of the board of directors. I see Don Sebastian sitting right here, and the rest of the members of the board of the directors of NJMEP for recognizing the hard-working, really good public servants in New Jersey who are woefully underpaid, who could make 3 times what they're making in the private sector right now, and we could not live without. So thank you all for having me this morning. Congratulations to NJMEP for another fabulous conference, and mostly congratulations and thank you to those public, there's Noel, to those public servants who hate to be recognized and certainly are overworked and underpaid and underappreciated. I'm glad you all are highlighting what they do every day for all of us. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Noel's in witness protection.
Yes, just so you know, the Lieutenant Governor has declared October 6th as Manufacturing Day in New Jersey. How many companies in here have had DOL grant money help them train? I think there's quite a few that have had it, you know. That's the reason why that they were selected to receive. The teams of Patty Moran, Howard Miller, John Ehret, these people step up and give us opportunities. I'm not a politician, so I just ignore them. So it's all good. Our next enrollee is someone who is no stranger to many of you in the room. Judy Savage. Where's Judy? Judy Savage, as many of you know, is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Council of County Vocational Technical Schools. Judy has been one of the leading lights in the state of New Jersey in terms of recognizing that we need to train the workforce in the future for the jobs of the future and even the jobs of now. The VOTEC schools in New Jersey ain't the VOTEC schools that we all knew when we were kids. They have created incredibly great programs in areas of finance and in banking and in healthcare, but from our perspective, programs for manufacturing. And Judy has been the leader of that effort in all the counties in the state of New Jersey and has partnered with MEP, with NJBIA, with the Department of Labor, with the Department of Education. And she and her staff have done a great job, and we're very proud to enroll her in the honor roll for manufacturing. Our next member that we're enrolling this year, and I know I'm going to murder your name, so I'm just going to say my good friend, Dr. Anbar, of the County College Consortium. For many years now, all the county colleges in the state of New Jersey have worked close with MEP and JPIA, with the VOTEC schools, with the Department of Education, Department of Labor, in providing great training for the business people in New Jersey and their employees. Whether it's the basic skills program founded by the county colleges and NJPIA about 10 years ago, to metal fabrication training, to a mobile tractor trailers, which many of you see travel around the state to train students on all different kinds of equipment for your factories. Anbar has led a great team, I know many members of the team are here today, in providing the kind of training and certification that we need in all your plants and factories. And he's just been a great partner, and he'll be retiring soon. We think he's way too young to retire, and he will be missed. And so we would like to bring him up and say thank you very much.
In addition, just a few to the county colleges. You know, I mentioned CCM, which we've worked with, Bergen, Raritan Valley, Camden, great partner of ours, Union. You know, we've been up to Sussex and trying to work with them, and so on, and Ocean. There's a lot of ability there, and we certainly need it. The last of this year's, Made New Jersey Honor Roll is a little different. This gentleman I've known for many years, and he works up at Picatinny Arsenal. And you wouldn't think of Picatinny Arsenal certainly as a manufacturer, but they are in many ways. This gentleman, Ralph Tillinghast, where are you, Ralph? I know you came in, you shook my hand. Again, fellow Eagle Scout, I got to tie that in. I get $1 each time. Ralph heads up the Innovation Lab. He's phenomenal at what he does, but more importantly, what he does for young people and the exposure to programs. Whether it's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, my leader program that runs every year, Ralph's the first one out there. And he signs up and he helps and he's part of the team. And that's critical, because if you've not been to Picatinny Arsenal and taken a tour of their facility, you ought to. This is a key critical part of our country as well as our state, and Ralph's the guiding light there. So Ralph.
All right, round of applause for all of our honorees. Thank you to all of you for what you do for all of us. Our next part of our program is, I'm very proud to bring up a panel of state legislators who have just recently formed, as John mentioned earlier, the manufacturing caucus. Years and years ago, we did have a manufacturing caucus that kind of faded away, and it wasn't, quite frankly, as, I don't want to say impressive, but as robust as the current panel is. Formed by the 4 leaders of the legislature, who, by the way, we have the proclamation of a bipartisan, bicameral group of legislators who have great interest, and many of them a background in manufacturing. And they have a goal to move forward an agenda for manufacturing in the state of New Jersey over the course of the next few months. And so I'd like to bring up a moderator of the panel, Anthony Russo is the president and CEO of one of our sister organizations, the Commerce and Industry Association. Does a great job here in New Jersey, and he will introduce the members of our panel. Anthony?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I want to thank John Kennedy. What a great turnout for allowing the Commerce and Industry Association to partner with them on this day, and also Frank Robinson and our colleagues at NJBIA. If I could ask the four legislators to come on up. And the way we're going to want to work this panel is, as Frank mentioned, we were all excited when Senate President Sweeney and the leadership formed this caucus. Something very important is going to happen in 32 days. How many folks here are excited that we're going to vote for a new governor, new Senate, and new Assembly? Show it here. But by the way, it's the first time since 2001 where all three are up for election. So it's very important. Let me give you some stats before I introduce the panelists. And again, we're going to want to keep this very informal. We want feedback from the manufacturers in the audience as far as what they can do in Trenton for us. So I just checked this the other day, the Division of Elections. There are 5.7 million voters in New Jersey. 2.3 million are unaffiliated. 1.3 are Republican, and 2.3 are close to, I think, the Democrats. So I may be off a little bit, but, and just to give you an idea of voter turnout. Last November, obviously, was a presidential election. The turnout was extraordinary. It was 68% of the voters turned out to vote last November. When I look back a year earlier, when it was just the Assembly, it was only 22%. So the question is, how many folks are actually going to come out on November 7th to vote? When I went back 4 years ago when we elected Governor Christie again, or re-elected him, the voter turnout was 40%. So I hope everybody just marks it on their calendar, go out November 7th. Again, I like the fact that this is a bipartisan caucus. I'm going to start with the chairman, Senator Bob Gordon, who hails from the 38th District. It's Bergen County. He is chair of the Legislative Oversight Committee. He's also vice chair of Transportation. He's the chair of this caucus, and I'm going to invite him up to just give a few words, or have your seat, and then we can have an open discussion. Thank you, Senator.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for inviting the members of the New Jersey Legislative Manufacturing Caucus to discuss our bipartisan commitment to ensure that New Jersey's economic future is as proud and as strong as that of our past. Manufacturing has a big role to play in that future. As we know, manufacturing has changed in New Jersey. The giant assembly lines of Mahwah and Linden are gone, as is the Gordon Yarn Company of Patterson, which was my family's business. But we have over 10,000 firms today engaged in increasingly advanced manufacturing that employ over 350,000 workers, and our goal is to help those businesses grow and succeed. Senate President Sweeney's plan for a major bond issue to expand and equip county vocational technical schools is a critical component of that strategy, and I echo the comments of my good friend, Congressman Don Norcross. When manufacturers cannot find the technically trained workers they need, and listen to this, 15,500 students were turned away last year from vocational schools because there wasn't enough space. When that happens, we know we have a problem. We need to work on a bipartisan basis to craft legislation that provides manufacturers and all New Jersey employers with technically skilled workers who meet the demands of the 21st century economy. A recent McKinsey report, and I really recommend this to you, it's called Reseeding the Garden State's Economy. That report cited the mismatch of middle-skilled workers with the needs of employers as one of the major drags on our future economic growth. And we're hoping to address that by allocating these funds to vocational schools. We also need to make sure that these students have a clear path from vocational technical schools to four-year schools like NJIT, Rutgers, and and Stevens, whose graduates have the highest job placement and earnings in the state. And of course, there's a lot more we need to do. We need to ensure that our incentive programs encourage emerging high-tech businesses. One of the problems the McKinsey report cited is that over the last 10 years, our economic development programs have focused on job retention in some of the largest, more mature companies. But we know that the jobs are created in the younger, startup, smaller enterprises. And so I think one of the things we'll be looking at in the caucus is how we need to refocus our economic development programs to maximize job creation. We also need to enhance the linkages between manufacturers and university R&D, and we need to make sure that we capitalize on the opportunity for manufacturing job growth at the end of the supply chain that our expanding logistics sector provides. We know that we don't have all the answers. We're going to do a lot of listening. There's not going to be a lot of political blathering. I hope it's mainly listening, and that's why we are here today. We want to hear about the challenges you face and what we can do to help. Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce the next senator on the panel, the only senator besides Senator Gordon on the panel. Senator Steve Oroho hails from Sussex County. Well, yeah, I was going to get to you something with that one. Soon to be the senator of Monmouth County. But Senator Steve Oroho from Sussex County, 24th District, sits on the Budget Committee, has a financial background, graduate of St. Francis University. Next to him is the Assemblyman from Somerset County, Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker, Bard College graduate, and John Hopkins. And what I love about him is a PhD in physics and teaches down at Princeton University of Plasma Laboratory. And next to him is Assemblyman Declan O'Scanlan, soon to be, hopefully, the senator from Monmouth County, taking over for Senator Joe Grillis, who retired. Assemblyman Declan O'Scanlan also sits on the Budget Committee on the Assembly side. So I'm going to keep this very informal. I know when I was preparing for this panel, one of the things I did is I went on the legislative home site, and I basically just queried manufacturing bills. And there are 28, which I was happy to see. A lot of them centered on tax incentives and higher ed partnerships, which are all important. But one of the things that I know when I asked our manufacturers, you know, what are the issues out there that you care about that can help you promote and enhance your business? A lot of it centered on regulatory reform. And I know Senator Oroho and Senator Gordon both sit on the Red Tape Review Commission. We heard from the Lieutenant Governor, she was chair of it. I hope whoever is governor, that commission survives, because I think they've done a lot of good work. But I just want to get your thoughts on regulatory reform, legislation. There is one bill, and I hope the manufacturers out there weigh in, which I liked from Assemblyman McCurgy. It had to do with de minimis threshold. So not to get too deep into the weeds here, but what that bill did, which I thought was extraordinary, again, based on what I heard from our members who manufacture, they say, look, Tony, a lot of times I have air issues, I have water issues, and sometimes the regulations are written so stringently that I have to get these permits and inspections. And there's a bill called the de minimis bill, which would exempt them, again, making common sense choices. So I just want to get your take, all four, on regulatory reform, and if you've heard some ideas.
Tony, let me start, if you wouldn't. I want to thank you all very much for being here. I want to thank my colleagues for being here. With respect to the Red Tape Review Committee, and that was bipartisan when it started. Actually, when I went into the legislature, my background is CPA and a certified financial planner. As Congressman Norcross is the only electrician, I think I'm the only CPA certified financial planner in the legislature as well. But I will tell you, when I was at one of the companies I worked for, it was a company called W.R. Grace. And some of you may remember the Grace Commission. President Reagan and J.P. de Grace. President Reagan was obviously a Republican. He asked J.P. de Grace, who was a Democrat, to start this commission. So Senator Sweeney and I put in a bill that essentially started what would have been the first Red Tape Review Committee. Completely bipartisan, and what a lot of people don't realize is they hear about the laws that get made in the legislature. The regulatory side is a completely different path. And when you look at, when we first started looking at it in New Jersey, we had a rule book on how to make rules. And so when we looked at it, and the first thing we did under the Christie administration was to, stop the things that were going through the pipeline. And I'm so proud to say that Senator Gordon and I are sponsors of a bill to make that red tape review committee a permanent bipartisan committee so that we can hear those issues that are coming through the regulatory side. And it's because of all of you. I'll tell you what, I know one thing. I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. But I will tell you that us listening to the problems that you have, so many times we'll sit up on that committee and say, wow, I never heard this. So with you coming to us, I think Lieutenant Governor has done a terrific job. One of the original members on that committee was Senator John Berzicelli, and he's been a tremendous colleague on that. And if you look at some of the bills that came out from the red tape, it's been Senator Gordon, myself, John Berzicelli. Also, we have now one of the Superior Court judges, and used to be a member as well. So I can't tell you how important it is that we keep hearing from you about that, about the regulatory side. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I think it's, I'm just standing up so I know some people can't see over here. It's always interesting to look at how we sit ourselves down. It was the Senate, Assembly, but then we went Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. So I guess we got the only CPA, you have to find out what somebody with Scanlon only is. Because I'm the physics caucus of one. But I think, when we talk about manufacturing, there's a couple of things that we really need to think about. It's regulatory, it's education. I want to acknowledge, we're very close to Raritan Valley Community College. I see President McDonough is here in the audience. And when I tour around my district, which is right below where we are right now, there are manufacturing companies, small, medium, and large, spread throughout my district. I've had a chance to tour them. I see also one of our award winners from 3D manufacturing who's pushing the next generation of 3D technology and printing here in New Jersey. But the crucial thing is, as the Senator talked about, is this is a pipeline, right? And this is a pipeline from education, that's K through 12, into the vocational, I know where Judy is now, but into the vocational schools, the community colleges, the four-year institutions, and then this is about growing businesses. And I think as the people in this room know, about 85% of the jobs in New Jersey that are created in New Jersey are done by creating your company here in New Jersey, by the work that you are doing. And so it is our job as a legislature to help find the right partnerships between the public and the private institutions, make sure our regulatory structure is competitive with our other states, makes sense so that we are both either over-regulating or under-regulating, and then do everything we can so that when new ideas, if you have a new idea, you can grow this in New Jersey and find the workforce that you need. So as the senators have both pointed out, our job on the caucus is to listen, take the best ideas, and hopefully come up with the bipartisan solutions that we need to make New Jersey truly the great manufacturing state that it always has been. So thank you very much.
When you're on a panel with Assemblyman Zwicker, the one thing you can't lay claim to being the most of is the smartest. So I want you to try to make that claim. I think that the biggest message that we all need to send to you all today is that there's a renewed understanding of the value of manufacturing in New Jersey. Certainly since '09, we all went through one of the worst, God willing, the worst fiscal setbacks in all of our lives, please God willing. We came to realize that without all the components of a growing economy, you can't be a successful economy. And there is a bipartisan understanding and an overcoming of some of the things you traditionally assume the Democrats and Republicans will be skeptical about. It's sort of conventional wisdom. The Democrats are skeptical of regulatory and tax reform and the value of those things. But the first day that I was on the floor of the state legislature, a now friend on the other side of the aisle got up and actually said, you know, we hear from you Republicans about regulatory reform and tax reform and how it's strangling business. But look at all we've already imposed on business, and there's still some of them here. It was a terrifying moment for me. We've come a long way since then. And there is an acceptance now, and I'm really happy to have been invited by Senator Gordon to be on this caucus, because there is an understanding without all the components. And by the way, Republicans are just as guilty of being skeptical of essential components to growing manufacturing in New Jersey. We are traditionally skeptical about investment in workers. We're talking about a bond issue now that I think will get bipartisan support, because we now get it. Without tax and regulatory reform, you can't expand, you can't expect to have businesses decide to come here and thrive here. Without the workers that you need, the trained workers in your plants, we can't expect you to do those things either. So there is a coming together, there is a genuine enthusiasm and open-mindedness amongst these caucus members, and I think we can be ideal leaders and lead our respective caucuses to support all of these components. I look forward to continuing to do that, to listening to all of you and learning, because without your input, we won't get it right. Although, actually, we have one brilliant member among us. Maybe without any of our input, we can do it right. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having us today. Look forward to hearing.
Thank you, Senator. So I would be remiss as a moderator if I didn't bring up some controversial issues that are going on in Trenton. And I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but I think the way I want to kind of set this up is I get a lot of emails and phone calls from members and they say to me, Tony, what's going on? Why are these bills coming out? And I'll throw them out. Minimum wage is an issue, paid sick leave, flexible work hours, asking an applicant's job history. These are very high-level, controversial issues sometimes. But then I tell the members that, yeah, we're going to take on that advocacy. We're going to hopefully convince the legislature to see things our way, but we may lose some of those battles. But I think it's important, and I can tell you that Senator Gordon is an example, and Senator Oro too, where members have asked for specific legislation to help their industries. There's a bill on vendor credentialing for a manufacturer that makes medical trays. And the senator is basically championing that bill through the legislature. So I tell our members, yeah, we're going to have to fight the fight on those bigger issues, but think about from your industry to manufacturing, whether you make chemicals or plastics or anything else, what is it on the regulatory side that could be fixed? Some ideas, and I got to tell you, I know I talked to some of them about, is more enforcement flexibility. If it's truly a paperwork error, and not an environmental error or a damage, I should say, then there should be some sort of a grace period. So I think those are issues out there that actually can help the manufacturing industry. So I don't know if there's anything you want to say around some of the controversial issues. What would you say to our group here as far as, and I've been on a mission to kind of get them more active politically, come down to Trenton. If you haven't seen a session, it's remarkable. I know it's really easy for us to stand up here and say, you know, criticize the legislature, but I got to tell you, no matter who, if you're a Democrat or Republican, and I'm personally unaffiliated, where I give them a lot of credit is a lot of things are thrown their way. And they have to make a decision, an informed decision in a relatively short period of time. And it really depends on interested parties, stakeholders. You have to give them the information. So I don't know, is there any advice that you would give our folks as far as becoming more active in Trenton?
If I could just start out, take the prerogative to the chair. I mean, there's some things that I know many in this room are not happy about, but I think there's a national force behind them, like raising the minimum wage, and that's going to happen over time. But with your input, it can happen in a way that is easier to react to. I, for one, think that should be phased in over time. And there are a number of things that have been proposed about things like paid sick leave and so on. And as coming from a small manufacturing environment, I know what kind of impact that can have on a small business. And I, for one, would want to carve out the sort of smaller organizations to try to minimize the impact on the organizations that are less able to deal with changes like that. But what's important is that we hear from you. There are a lot of regulations that are, off our radar screen that may have made sense decades ago, but technology has changed, the economy has changed, and they don't make any sense now. and we want to hear about them. That's why this Red Tape Commission has been so valuable and productive. So what I would encourage you to do, come to the meetings we are going to be having around the state. We're going to try to do this in a geographically diverse way so that we can hear from as many regions as possible. We want to get your feedback, hear your suggestions on regulations, tax policy, other things. The caucus is going to be promoting some things that I think there's a great deal of consensus for. Infrastructure investments. We are going to be supporting our colleagues who are working for investments in freight rail, in a port, in our mass transit systems, things that are all critical in keeping New Jersey a viable place in which to do business.
Thank you, Senator Gordon. And I know people couldn't see me before. Thank you, Senator, for that. But I want to, first of all, with respect to you coming out and helping educate the legislators about how you run your business. Because one of the things that I think that you don't realize, whether it be sick pay, whether it be minimum wage, or the way you run your business, you look at compensation in total. How many companies are now going towards paid time off because you want to give your employees flexibility as to how they utilize that time? That's important. How you run your business. The issue with respect to capital attraction. One of the things I've tried to dedicate my career in the legislature to is the importance of being attractive to capital, whether it be personal capital or company capital. Because those states that are attractive to capital, investment, because it's capital equals investment, investment equals jobs. Jobs make families happy. Happy families, they like the legislature, all right? But that whole starts with you educating us about that issue of how important capital is to you, how you run your business. And you don't look at every single, you may have a different business model than the next business. With respect to how you pay. Some of it may be base pay, some of it may be incentive pay, some of it may be in other ways of compensating. It's all part of compensation. So how you run your business is very important for the education to us. Thank you.
So I'll follow up on that. Earlier when I was making my opening remarks, I pointed out 3D Monster as an example of advanced manufacturing. But besides just coming down to Trenton, because it is remarkable, and we have this beautiful, the second oldest continuing state house in the country, I would strongly suggest that you invite us, the members of the legislature, or the members of this caucus of the legislature, to come to your businesses, right? Because the way we really learn about the issues you deal with day to day, it could be regulatory issues, it could be employment issues, whatever it might be, is to come and tour around. And so, I had a chance to come and see 3D Monster, and I've toured all around, and that has been an incredibly important part of my legislative education. The other thing I'll say is sort of to some of the controversial things and how we come to decisions. When Congressman Norcross was here making his remarks earlier, he made a little quip. He said, he's the only electrician, and he shuddered the idea of a Congress that was made up of only engineers or scientists. And I was thinking to myself, I would love that, right? Because, right? Because a couple things. Well, first of all, it'd be one of the more socially awkward Congresses, right? but we'd be logical, right? And whether you are a Republican or Democrat or unaffiliated or however you consider yourself personally, politically, could you imagine a political world where we started with a common set of facts and then debated the public policy? Because whether we're going to talk about minimum wage, we're going to talk about paid family leave, sick family leave, sick leave, whatever it might be, right? There are certain differences that go across political party lines. But if you start with a common set of facts, oh my goodness, you're such a big advantage. When it comes to Senator Scanlon's story about his first day, right? Where someone gets up and just makes an ideological statement that is a line in the sand that does no good whatsoever. I'm glad you didn't name who that person was so I can follow up and also say the same thing. But I would urge you to get more involved because of your own interest in your business, your educational institution, coming down or inviting us in, because it has to be a conversation. That's how we get things done.
Thanks. Regarding these controversial issues, increase the minimum wage, scheduling, I'll be frank, the idea that Trent knows better how you should run your business, what you should pay your employees, how you should schedule them, and when you should allot time off is, and I'm going to use a very technical legislative term, a god-awful crappy idea. And we're going to have those debates starting from a logical set of facts. I'm with you 100%, Assemblyman. And look, there's legitimate concern. We have to have legitimate concern for workers as well. But you need to be a big part of the coming debate, and it's going to be pretty fierce. And on top of all these other things we talked about, some of the things we are going to inflict upon you, we are inflicting upon New Jersey and taxpayers as well. A $15 minimum wage costs us about $500 million a year at the state level, money that we don't have since we're already a $4 to $6 billion budget deficit. So it's going to have to be a fierce debate. I'm very happy that we have a bipartisan group of legislators here listening to you, and you need to be there and make sure your voices are heard. We need to know what the negative impact of some of these things will be on the very people that the legislature is trying to help, workers. How many jobs would be lost if we do some of these things? How fast would we accelerate the rate of automation? Nothing exists in a vacuum, especially if we're going to make New Jersey an outlier versus other states where manufacturers can choose to go or can choose to move to from here. So we do have to talk about these things, and absolutely it should be a reasoned discussion based on facts, not politics.
Yeah, thank you. I know we're pressed for time, John. I know. So can we open it up for maybe a question or two? Yes, sir.
Mike Alicio. A question for the panel. New York State, our neighbors across the border, have great success with the Excelsior program in terms of tuition, free tuition for individuals under a certain financial threshold. I was curious to know in terms of what's going on in the trend, in terms of what your thinking is and what the temperature is for those kinds of programs that address individuals looking to either go to college or technical schools.
I'll take the first shot at it. I'll stand up since you probably couldn't see me over there. My understanding, based on what I've been reading about the New York program, it's maybe a little bit more PR than substance, because the people under the families under the threshold can already take advantage of other federal programs. There has been conversations during this campaign year by Ambassador Murphy about providing free tuition. I know all of us up here in the legislature who are aware of all of the financial pressures we're facing are asking, well, that's a great idea, we have to see how we're going to pay for it. We are frankly not exactly flush in cash in New Jersey. We've got a pension problem to deal with, which is at the very top of our agenda. So we'll just have to see where the money is. I know that we're trying to do things where we can, such as a significant bond issue that I described for vocational ed. I think we need to reform our efforts in providing tuition aid. We have a predatory lending system now in New Jersey. I think that has to be just scrapped, and we have to start over from scratch there.
I think one quick comment about that. When you put all the education aid together in the budget, going from K through 12 up through higher education, it actually, New Jersey is one of the biggest states in providing aid. However, how it's allocated is a big issue. All right, and I will tell you, on a bipartisan basis, when you talk about the tuition aid grants, the TAG grants, almost all legislators say, how can we get more money into that kind of programs? We have, whether it be apprenticeship programs, whether it be aid for college tuition. I play as a financial planner. When Congressman Norcross talked about that 529 conversion plan into apprenticeship program, wholeheartedly support, something like that. And to the extent we can do more that allows parents and students to be able to take more tax credits off their own personal tax return, I'm 100% for that. And those are the types of things you have to look at. But as far as the resources go in, we have one of the states that spend the most on education. But the allocation is something we absolutely have to have a very fierce debate about.
Thank you, Senator. How about a round of applause for our panelists? And good luck November 7th. Thanks, John.
And these guys, some of them will be appearing at a CIA J event on the 12th, so if you need information. Thank you, people. Well, I'm going to make my announcements, or Lenore will be after me, so I fear her more than you. However, I agree with Andrew Zwicker that we need more engineers and scientists in Congress.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us on Manufacturing Talk Radio. You can hear our next broadcast each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at mfgtalkradio.com.